Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways actual play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game, Rules by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try hard to stick to reasonable languages for all ages, listeners should know that this is a podcast that may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., may bear resemblance to persons living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Okay, and we're back. So, welcome back. We left off in a very precarious position. So, I want to take a moment and introduce myself as Keeper Michael. I will be doing the keeping for this evening, and pretty much every other evening, unless somebody sits in my spot, which would be kind of weird. To my right,
you have Lonnie, who is playing Lawrence Edward Oliver Forsyth, a civil engineer who is currently unconscious at the bottom of a hole.
How do these things happen to you?
It's almost like someone planned it.
Almost. And opposite him,
Tiffany playing Maeve O'Shea, who is on a train.
You are on a train. You are arriving, as we open the curtain for this evening, you arrive in the town of Arkham. You have a very broad view of this New England town. It's old. You get that instantly from stepping off the train. Arkham is old. Almost far older than Chicago.
Does it smell old too?
It's not that it smells old per se. There is obviously a bit of you get more of a sea smell in the town because it's a lot closer to the coast than, say, Chicago. Mm-hmm. But what you get from it, the impression you get as you step off the train is the building styles are older. The components that make them up are a little bit older than you're used to seeing in downtown Chicago. Obviously, Arkham, the city of it, is not as big as Chicago, nor is it as advanced. But what Arkham does have is pretty deep history. So if you're not familiar, this is also where you're going to find Miskatonic University. So Miskatonic is a university that is well regarded, much like a Harvard or a Yale or a Brown. Brown not too far down the way in Providence.
Is that where Mr. Cross works?
He does work for Miskatonic University. He is a professor there. At least that was your last impression during your conversation with him. And that he does some of his studies at Arkham Asylum for some of his subject matter, which is how he found out that your mom was being treated there. There's a fairly wide river that cuts Arkham into two. So when you arrive by train, you definitely see that there are two sets of Arkhams, really, as is true with any city that's separated by a major river, much like St. Louis and some of the other American cities that are like it. San Francisco, separated with Oakland. This is no different. So there are different quarters of the city, different areas, whether it be the campus or the French Hill District or the New Merchant District. You've got a reasonable idea that you need to go to Arkham Asylum. But there are more things to see in Arkham than just your mother.
Well, you need to find a place to stay.
You do need to find a place to stay. It's not very difficult to find a place to stay. You manage to find a relatively reasonably priced inn.
Fairly close to these?
Fairly close to the train station.
Okay.
There isn't a whole lot of what you would think of as a flop house or a place where you can get, nightly stays near the asylum.
Okay.
The asylum is set off away from most of the city.
Which is pretty typical.
Yeah. It needs to be cordoned off just because of everything that's going on.
Yeah, once I get my room, put my stuff in there, collect my stuff, I'm going to see if I can maybe arrange a meeting with Mr. Cross.
Okay, so if you wanted to arrange a meeting with him, one of the things that you'll probably have to do is call on him at the university.
Right.
So from where you're at specifically, the university is south. So if you think about two sections of Arkham being separated in the middle by the Miskatonic River, the actual university district is south of the river. So you'll have to find your way there.
Okay.
Not impossible by any means.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to, I can get a taxi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem finding a taxi. They take you across Miskatonic River, and you eventually arrive at the university itself.
Alrighty. Then I will go to, like, the office, the main office, whichever, and see if I can get more information where he's at, if I can make an appointment there.
You head up to the big house. It's not the big house, but it's a huge building.
Yeah.
You see a definite U-shaped building, and it's a multi-floor structure. You see a stadium. You see other fraternity houses, and then obviously along the row and around the university itself, there are probably Greek university houses as well. You head into Miskatonic University, and you speak with basically a front desk, a receptionist of sort. She tells you that Professor Cross is available, but it will take a few hours for him to finish up classes. She suggests that if you want to write him a message, she can have someone deliver it to him while he's in class and let him know that he has a visitor.
Okay.
Or it can be delivered to his office.
Why don't we have it? Yeah, I'll just write him a note telling him that I am here to see him where I'm staying, and that hopefully I will be back in a few hours when he is available.
Okay. You write him a message. It goes into her hands, and then she ferrets it up to, at some point, she said she's going to ferret it up to his office.
Okay.
Are you heading back to your room then?
Yeah. What time of day is it?
You probably get in around midday.
All right. Well, I'll look for some place near the university, maybe for lunch or...
Not hard to find. There's probably places you can get a reasonable diner lunch nearby. It might be smaller than Chicago, but it's not without its own eateries and diners and whatnot.
Yeah.
Obviously, being closer to the coast, fish is going to be closer to the menu, so you do get a reasonable selection.
I will, I'll just grab something to eat, try some fish probably that I've never had, and go over my books while I wait for him, and then...
Okay. Yeah, the diner is close enough to the university where you do see a couple of different university students also in here. You kind of blend in. You're young, you're in your, early to mid-20s, so you blend in pretty well with the university crowd. Lots of them have books.
She's a spinster.
She is not a spinster. Well, I mean, maybe. That all depends on your definition of spinster at her age, but you know.
She should have already been married and had 2 or 3 kids by now. Yeah.
That's the that's the religious in you talking.
Fair.
You get some lunch and you relax and read your book. Time drifts between pages, and eventually the waitress comes back over. You can't really remember how long it's been, and you look up at the clock, which is rocking back and forth with its well-regulated brass timepiece, and it shows that it's about 5:30.
Is that when he's done?
He should be done by now.
Okay.
You don't know if he has any additional work, but yeah, he should be done by now.
Okay. I will pay for my meal and everything and head over back to the university.
You head back over. The main office itself, or the main reception that you ran, appears closed now.
Okay. Are there any signs or anything that show?
It looks like the main office closes to visitors at 5.
Okay.
Give me a spot hidden roll.
I do better at it than I did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows, right?
No.
Okay. You hear in your ear, "Did you come all the way here?" And you're instantly spooked.
I'm gonna turn
Whip around. You see an older version of Christopher Cross, a man you went to school with, in a kind of a tweed jacket, and he looks almost comical. You remember him as an intelligent person, but you never remembered. You don't think of him as a professor. That's very strange. Miss O'Shea, it's good to see you.
Yes, good to see you.
You spook easy.
Had a lot going on this past weekend.
I believe it. Well, you made it to Miskatonic.
I did. I need to check up on my mother.
Yes, I was planning on going and seeing you this evening. If you'd like to accompany me.
Oh, yes, very much so. So,
How was your trip?
it was uneventful.
Yeah.
I read a lot.
That sounds wonderful. He has a briefcase with him. Kind of a leather briefcase. We're just getting into some of the Roman era in my history and philosophy class. It's rather interesting, although I do worry about some of my students. I don't think they're paying as much attention in class as they're paying attention after hours at the speakeasies around here.
Well, that is not surprising.
No, I never understood the philosophy behind the Volstead Act. You take something which was legal and utilized for hundreds of years, and you make it illegal. I mean, even in New York, they're already having problems with the underground world, buying and selling of booze and bootlegging from Canada. An entire industry is popping up.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's paying attention to it.
Made it more popular. Almost gotta wonder if that's intentional.
No. Well, it's a good question. I mean, if you could somehow surmise or ascertain whether or not someone in power was making money off all of this, maybe you could justify such an opinion. It's an interesting theory. You just kind of walk down across the grounds of the university, and he kind of takes a couple of lefts and rights eventually and gets to a side street where there's a car parked. Hop in. Kind of opens the door for you.
I'll get in the car.
So, how's Chicago? He gets in and cranks the car over.
A big city.
Yeah? Do you miss it?
No.
No?
I mean, it depends. I have a lot to think about, and
Yeah.
I had a lot happen, so I don't know how I feel about that city right now.
You alright?
Yeah, I'll be okay. Did you ever see who ordered my mother to be moved?
I looked through the records that they would allow me to. Just as a... I'm not a proper attending physician per se yet. Your mother has one of those already. But I have managed to develop a relationship with Dr. Gens here. Well, Gens is a man who, for the most part, seems to be on the up and up. He's just following orders. He's the attending physician right now for your mother, when she's willing.
When she's willing?
Well, I didn't want to spring it on you here in the car, but your mother isn't exactly the easiest patient. I can't imagine that has filtered down to you, right?
It depends. What is going on?
Well, we'll get to it, but Gens has been pliable in many things. He's been willing to talk about a lot of stuff. One of the things he's not willing to talk about is who sent your mother here. He says it's above any doctor-patient privilege I might be able to get.
Well, me being a relative.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you being a relative, he'll be a little bit more open and honest with you, but I'm just trying to warn you, Maeve, that there's something funny going on.
That's what it sounds like. It was kind of jarring to know that she's been here a while.
Yeah, I found it jarring as well. I didn't understand why she'd been moved here. It was pure luck that I was teaching here. But when I found out about it, I contacted you right away.
Well, I'm hoping maybe I can get her moved closer back to home.
The biggest concern, at least from what I saw of the paperwork, what I sent on to you, was that it seemed that the people in Elgin, where she was from, they weren't able to deal with her. They weren't able to... The notes are very sketchy. You'll see them when you get to the hospital.
Yeah, what you sent to me didn't make very much sense. I don't remember her being like that.
Well, you guys drive around a few corners, and then eventually you're sitting outside the building itself. You see, it's not as if it's unheard of in the area. Why don't we go inside, and then I can hopefully get a hold of the paperwork for you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Mr. Forsyth, you come to, and you see a parade of stars. One twinkling light after another. Up and down and up and down in your vision. And the whole world rocks a bit from left to right. And there's almost a hum at the back of your ear. And you feel a great weight get lifted off of you. As if something had been pressing down around your shoulders and your neck. And you feel your body stand up. And as you look around You see that you're in this foundational area, with stones still from left to right. And each one seems to have its own halo. Like there's a glow coming off of it enough to create a ring of white light.
That I'm in the middle of.
You seem to be. Yeah.
It's just a fancy of being knocked on the head. I very slowly bend down and grab my torch because moving fast probably isn't really an option.
It's as if you are attempting to move Gibraltar just to bend down.
Yeah.
But you do eventually reach your torch.
And I look to see what hit me if there's anything down here.
You turn around, and when you turn around, the world tips again on its axis. And you're standing in front of the stairway area. But there is no stairway up. There is simply a stairway leading down.
Down? This makes no sense. And the fact that there's no way up out of this hole?
It's not just that. It's that the stairway area up that you came down to get here is no longer there.
Yeah. No, this is not good. This is not good at all.
And now you roll Sandy.
Yes. Now I roll Sandy. Well, my current sanity is a number, and this number is a 95. No, 65, I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Thank God. Yeah, 65. So no, it's definitely higher than my sanity rating right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume I lose some.
You do. You lose a point of sanity.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And you teeter there for a moment, front and back, like a spinning top.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to move to the space of safety that you remember standing in just moments before, you trip over your own boots.
Wait, what?
And as you trip and fall forward, you land on that first stair and then tumble forward. Stair after stair. As you wind down, each one made of white flagstone. You get down a good dozen. And you finally manage to arrest your fall by grabbing onto what feels like the trunk of a massive tree.
I'm losing my mind.
Perhaps it's already tumbled down the stairs.
I must have knocked myself on the head harder than I thought.
You've managed to hold on to the torch in your left hand.
So I'm kind of hanging with my right hand on this wood.
It feels like wood. It feels like bark.
This is insane. This can't be. I try to get back on my feet.
You do your best to get back on your feet. Why don't you make me a dex roll?
Dex roll. 59 over 55. Oh. No.
You
slump back.
Head back to get up, and you're forced to kind of position your body in a fashion to lean more of your weight on this tree.
Yep.
And as you lean against that tree, that bark gives away a little bit, and you end up scooting down a few more steps, sadly. It doesn't do any relative damage to you, but you're again discombobulated for another minute or two. It's just that the world itself will not stop spinning.
I'll call out for Gus.
Okay. You can call out for him. It seems to echo in here a great distance. And then it reverberates back inside your eardrum. And you hear your own voice calling inside your ear for a voice that doesn't answer. You grab at your face and try to get control of your senses and realize that you're bleeding from your nose. And that there's a fresh coppery tinge to your tongue. You must have hurt yourself at some point.
Yes. If I can't stand, I can at least crawl.
Absolutely.
I am crawling up the stairs.
Okay.
And I'm not going down these stairs. I am going up these stairs. But do I get the sense from looking down with my torch how far these stairs go down?
There does seem to be a bit of a distance to them. They seem to wind down a bit. At the bottom, and you can tell that there is a bottom to this staircase, you see a great light down there. Not a lamp light, more like a campfire light. But there is a definite light at the bottom.
Does it illuminate anything?
The stairs?
Just
at the bottom?
stairs?
Yeah, 4 or 5 of the stairs at the bottom.
Does it illuminate any of the area it's at? Or is it just, the stairs go down into light?
No. There does seem to be some sort of ground down there. Almost like almost wide stone. It's cut stone from your look.
Mm. I begin crawling away from this obvious hallucination I'm having, and try to get back up these stairs to where I fell, where I was, where I still am.
You're pretty sure, at least. You turn and you begin to crawl.
Yep.
As best you can.
Mm-hmm.
And one handhold after another, you seem to, when you crawl, you don't seem to make any ground. You grab onto the tree because it's the nearest thing.
Yeah.
It's a point which you can use to leverage to get further.
Yeah.
And you get further and further, and then the world spins a bit, but you continue to make progress. And progress. And as the moments move forward, at least you're fairly certain they're moving forward, you are overcome with another wave of dizziness. And you can't tell whether you're moving left or right, or up or down. The cardinal directions become meaningless to you.
And the tree is still to the side of me?
It does seem to still be here, although when you press your hand against it now, it doesn't feel the same as it did before. As almost if it's a different section. It doesn't feel as if any of the bark you've latched onto is gone, but there's definitely it feels different. It almost feels thicker. Almost as if the tree is widening.
I sit on the stairs. I just kind of slump.
You sit.
I begin checking my head for the blood. I pull a rag from my... I have a kerchief, I assume.
You do. You find it in your pocket there. It's still there.
Mm-hmm.
You pull it out. You see, when you pull out the kerchief, that there is a design on it you're not familiar with.
What is it?
You're not familiar with it being on your kerchief before.
Yeah, I carry
It's a stylized design of a box, or what looks like a box or an area, and in several of the portions of this stylized design, there are glyphs. Each one representing something you're not familiar with. But why don't you give me a engineering roll?
Nope. 87. It's not my day.
It's befuddling for sure. But you almost get the sense that there is some sort of meaning to it. You simply don't know what it is.
Yeah. My wits are scrambled. This makes no sense. I call out again. Do I hear anything?
You hear what sounds like the crackling of a fire.
Is it coming from above me or below me?
It appears to be coming from ahead of you. You look up, and the world is altered again. And in this new aberration, this new alteration to your vision, you see there is a great fire in the middle of a room. The stairs you're now sitting on to gain your mental and somewhat physical footing are at the bottom of this staircase. Ahead of you there is a smoldering fire held in this great cauldron. There seems to be flames coming up in a massive column, licking at this ceiling of this temple. Beyond the fire, you notice that there are two figures dressed in ornate robes that sit at a grand table beyond the fire.
I'm going to try and make one more attempt to get to my feet.
Sounds good.
Okay, 43 under 55.
You, with all your inner strength, force yourself into a moment of clarity. And you gain your footing. And for a moment, the world does not rock left or right, front or back. Mm-hmm. And you can move about. At least you feel as if you can.
I look past the fire at the figures. They're men in robes?
They seem to be dressed in something relatively ornate. For the most part, anyway. They're dressed as if they're... I mean, if you didn't know better, it would be almost ecclesiastical. Although there's no symbols upon them that denote any sort of Christian religion at all. But they do seem to have an air about them.
What are they doing?
They're watching you. They don't appear threatening. They appear almost sober. And considerate, if that's a word we could use. They don't appear threatening at all. They appear to be
just judging.
Waiting. Yes, awaiting.
Hello?
Good day.
The one on the right speaks.
Hello, Matt. Come forward.
I attempt to walk forward. I don't know how well that's going to go.
You walk forward a bit. You kind of move a bit to the right and try to stay out of the heat range of this massive fire.
Right. Where am I?
You're at the threshold. We are those who watch.
How did I get here?
You go down the stairs. It is one of them anyways. Please, come forward.
I go forward. I don't...
There is water there. Question first.
Is there like a chair or something like that?
No, but there is a small, not table per se, but almost a half bench. That there seems to be some sort of glass, some sort of pottery.
I'll try and make it to the table.
You do so.
I just want to try and get undisoriented. Maybe if I hold on to this, it's solid.
It is. It is. It actually feels very earthen in your hands. It almost feels like a point, again, that you could focus on.
Yes, if I can focus on a point, I can get my bearings back, maybe.
The figure on the left speaks.
Good.
I drink.
It will give you fortitude.
You take a deep drink. It's mountain water. It's pure and it feels completely refreshing going down. It might be some of the cleanest water you've ever tasted.
I put it down. I look at them. I don't understand. I was at work. How do I get here? Where am I? I don't even understand.
You're in a land dream. You've passed through. Beyond the veil. You walk the stairs.
I'm dead?
The figure on the left smirks.
Not dead. You have passed through where you were. You are now here.
I want to go back. I have to go back.
You do have to go back.
The man on the right says.
You must go back.
Yes, I have to... Something hit me.
Something brought you here. It was important that it did. There is
The figure on the left says,
There is an entity here who has been watching, waiting.
For me?
In a way. He is very concerned about the part we play. Remember this, Forsyth.
the man on the right says.
What you do in the physical world affects the land and trees. But pray, land and trees never affects what you do in the physical world.
I just look puzzled. This is the weirdest dream I've ever had. This is,
Fair enough.
this makes no sense whatsoever. None whatsoever. This is something completely out of my existence.
Out of your normal existence, for sure.
Yeah.
The figure on the left stands up. And he walks around the table. And you can finally get a sense of his true presence. He's far taller than you thought he was. It's almost as if the lines in this room play with strange perspectives. As he comes closer to you, he is mammothly tall. He's 20 feet tall. You stare up at him as there is no other way.
Yeah.
He dominates your vision. And as he leans down, he opens his hand up, his left hand. And in it, there are 5 stones in it. They appear to be almost obelisk in nature.
Yeah, they look
And he
like blue obelisks. Blue,
drops
green,
them into your hand.
into my palm.
Yes.
They probably looked incredibly small in his hand, but they fill mine.
Indeed.
There are 5 stones. There are 5 of you. Carry these stones. Distribute 1. Keep it close. But remember, with its use, there will be a price.
I don't... I wish I understood what all this meant. I don't... This is... I don't know. I just want to sleep. Because I really don't feel well.
Travel beyond. There are cities. People amongst the dreams who tell you more about the stones. Key to this purpose. This is your quest.
I think at this point I pass out. I think that's a good response.
Fair
to
enough.
everything.
Miss O'Shea?
Mm-hmm.
You never really dreamed you would be in Arkham Asylum. But here you are.
Mm-hmm.
Patient number 6.
Arkham is, as an asylum, it reminds you an awful lot of the last asylum you were in. It's difficult to be around people who are genuinely disturbed.
Mm-hmm.
And as the memories of Dunning are still fresh in your mind from this past weekend, you get the feeling that some of the men here in the main hall are definitely giving you more than a once-over. It's a feeling that tickles along the back of your neck, and all you hope is that Christopher can get you moved along relatively soon.
Yes.
He is working with one of the nurses here to get into the women's ward. There's a specific women's ward where your mother is being kept, and you can't just go mosey on in there anytime you want. You have to be brought in.
Right.
It takes a few minutes, but you do pass out of main reception down a hall into the women's ward.
Okay.
Once you get there, you get sat in a second receptionist area while the orderly says that they're going to go check on your mother and see what state she's in. Christopher looks at you. Evidently, they've been having to medicate her at night.
Have they?
That's what the rumor is, anyway. Unfortunately, I don't get to look at her medical chart, he whispers to you. There are still some things they prevent me from looking at, but...
It's alright, I have a doctor that if I need to, I will bring him back with me.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. I have a close friend of mine who is a doctor.
Well, 2. I have my doctorate.
Well, you can't look at her medical records. He's a medical doctor.
Yeah, they don't usually let doctorates in history look at medical records.
Right.
You see an older gentleman come out of the D Ward's main entrance. Oh, Dr. Getz. Christopher stands up. He reaches his hand out. It's good to see you, sir. This is Miss O'Shea. See a elderly man, salt and pepper hair, kind of pudgy here at the cheeks, with a bit of a turkey neckband that goes down into his still relatively business-like white shirt and dress tie over his with a lab coat over it.
Okay.
Thank you for coming, Miss O'Shea. I'm glad to see that there is some family still involved.
I would have been here sooner had I been notified she had been moved.
Yes, we should speak about that.
Yes, we should.
Right this way. He leads you back into D Ward. Christopher kind of half stops and says, "Do you want me to come with, or you can probably handle this?" Or...
Yeah. If you want to maybe get me copies of some of the paperwork.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
He heads off back towards the main entrance. Gens walks you through a fairly long hallway with a series of wardrooms, very similar to what you saw at Dunning, although the actual footprint of the building is not the same. They're different types of structures. Well, you do see several women in the hall who seem in different states of emotion, whether it be some or none, or happy or sad. There's definitely a coldness to the building that you're not familiar with. Dr. Gent stops at door number 11. Your mother's just beyond here. She's preparing for dinner. If you'd like to speak with her, you can come and find me. He points down just about 50 feet or so. I'll be in D Ward's main office. We can speak about whatever matters you'd like.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thanks.
And there you are, door 11.
I'll take a big inhale and open the door.
How long has it been since you've seen your mother? It's had to have been a few years at least, right?
Well, she was moved, so yeah, I probably was too involved in what I was doing.
Not you. The room is relatively small, probably no bigger than maybe 10 or so feet wide by maybe 10 or 15 feet long. It's not a cell per se, because there is a window and granted there's bars on it, but there is a window. And there's a simple bed in here, a dresser. There's a small bookcase in here, which seems relatively unused. There's a chair at the end near the bed, which has been turned to face out towards the window. And you see your mother sitting in the chair, kind of staring off into what's going on outside.
I'll step in and Mother?
She turns to face you. You can tell that in the years since you've seen her, the lines on her face have deepened quite a bit. Her hair has gone far more gray than you're used to. She looks a little bit thinner than you saw her last time. But she definitely makes eye contact with you. May, what are you doing here?
Well, I would have been here sooner, but I did not get told that you were moved.
She kind of deflates a little. They couldn't treat me in Elgin.
Why?
They don't know what's wrong. They're not sure.
And they're sure here?
Dr. Gens is trying to stay positive about everything. The things that happened in the night are... something's not right.
What happens? Are you having dreams?
So many. I dream of far-off places, and I dream that someone comes to my window at night. I can hear them rattling the bars on the windows. I could hear them in Elgin. They climbed the building just to rattle my window.
Who are they?
She kind of drifts a bit.
What do they look like?
They don't look like anything. They're black. Long hands.
Are these the things you think that came and took Father?
She looks visibly upset at the mention of your father. Your father left of his own accord.
Yes, he did not have to take that trip.
He said he would be back. He promised he would be back.
When did you start getting these visitors?
In Elgin. They came to my room. At first, all they did was sit outside the window and watch. And I called so many times. I told the nurses at Elgin that they were watching me. No one believed me.
And now they're trying to come in?
They've tried here twice.
How many times does the doctor give you medicine?
I can't remember. When I need it.
So it's not on a schedule every day?
What day is it?
Today is Friday.
I thought it was Sunday. I thought it was Sunday. It smelled like meatloaf. And I thought it was Sunday. It's got to be Sunday. It can't be Friday. She gets a little physically frenetic. She shakes a little. You see her even at one point catch her own hand as if she knows she's shaking.
Do you like Professor Cross?
Christopher. He's a very nice man. I think he's trying to help.
Do you remember him? From when we were kids?
I remember. It's so funny to find him here.
Indeed it is. What does he talk to you about?
He mostly talks to me about what I dream about. He sits with me sometimes in the afternoon, and we talk about dreams. We talk about what happens here at night.
With your visitors? Or is there something else that happens here at night?
I don't know. I try to stay in bed.
You hear things?
Oh, yes. Yes. I hear it outside. I hear it inside. There's things happening in Arkham.
That weren't happening in Elgin?
No. They wouldn't happen in Elgin.
Well, would you want to go back to Elgin?
I don't know if I can.
Well, if I talk to the doctor, I want to try and get you closer to home.
Home with Neil. You see her, she kind of gets a little misty-eyed. And she starts to kind of rock a bit. Home again with you and Neil. That sounds nice.
It does sound nice. Well, I'm going to go talk to the doctor. Make sure you eat your dinner. You look like you have not been eating dinner.
I try, but I don't know who cooks the food here, but there's no life in it.
Well, a facility like this, I can't imagine they put too much love in their food.
She just rocks.
If you don't like it tonight, maybe tomorrow I will bring you something.
Okay.
I'm going to walk over and hug her and give her a kiss on the forehead.
She takes it. I mean, she's, you can tell that there is obviously an issue.
Yeah.
Possibly multiple issues. Unfortunately, you're not a psychiatrist.
No, but from what I recall, I don't remember her being violent or anything like they were describing before.
She's definitely not. She doesn't seem to be doing very well.
Yeah.
You, step out. Head down to see Dr. Gens.
Yes.
Dr. Gens's office is not palatial by any means. It's a workman's office. This might not even be his proper office, but it is the desk and office of D. Ward.
I'll go in. I'll, knock on the door lightly and walk in.
Miss O'Shea, please sit down. Can I offer you something to drink?
No, thank you.
Well, he tucks himself in kind of behind the desk and sets a few pieces of paperwork aside. Your mother's not doing very well.
I see that. Maybe she would have if I would have had access to give her regular visits.
Yes, about that. He takes a piece of paper off his desk and he shows it to you. Kind of scoots it over on your side. The actual official change order, if you'll see there, kind of points down to it. It's signed by your father.
What's the date on it? How many years ago?
It's a couple of years.
So you're telling me you spoke to my father?
I didn't know.
But somebody in Elgin had.
They had to have. It's possible someone there spoke to him, and then they had her, with his permission, moved. It's the only way.
Does it look like his signature? I mean, I have books with
You do?
his writing all over it.
So if you'd like to do some sort of analysis on it, I guess English, given that it's a language, it will also cover the reading and the writing of it, unless you have another skill that you think would pertain more to it.
I mean, I do have the language skill. I don't know if I would have anything that would make sense.
Appraise, art craft.
Appraise is more for items with value. There's no actual intrinsic monetary value to this.
Yeah, do you want me to... Yeah, I guess... Or, okay, yeah, so, like, my own language, like... Because we have that language, and then it's own, and then...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just go ahead and give me a roll. We'll see what you get.
Thankfully, that one's higher, so... We'll see. Probably roll, like, a 90-something, but, you know, whatever.
Don't curse yourself.
32. So that is a hard success.
It sure looks like his signature. I mean, from everything you've seen. Maybe there's some deviation to it, but whatever deviation you can see to it
Right.
Might be something like he was in a rush, but it tends to look pretty close to his signature.
Has my mother ever said that she saw him?
She's mentioned him before, but not mentioned directly that she'd seen him. We have been taking a very careful approach with your mother.
Do you understand that nobody has seen my father in, I don't know, probably like 6 years?
The hospital in Elgin made us aware that they were not in direct, constant communication with him. And since he had legal power of attorney over her, that's all we needed to accept the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to understand, Miss O'Shea, this isn't something I don't appreciate or take any joy in you not knowing where your mother is. I find it a failing of the Elgin facility that they would send us a patient and then not notify all members of the family. Now, if your father chose not to notify you, there's nothing that Arkham can do about that.
I understand that.
And that she's in our custody, we have to do what's best for her as a patient.
So what are you doing for her?
Mostly, we are doing our best to engage her during the daylight hours, and we are getting her involved with crafts and other patients and social situations as much as we can to try to get her leveled out. Mm-hmm. Her issue is mostly an issue of mania. She goes back and forth between being relatively calm one moment and then screaming that things are out to get her the next moment.
She talked to me about them. Didn't scream. She talked.
Well, good. Maybe your presence as her daughter here is helping to ground her.
Yes, but I don't live out here.
Yes, I was made aware that you were coming into town at some point.
Yes, I called.
We do appreciate you traveling so far.
So do you have to hear from my father to have her move closer back to home?
Legally speaking, yes.
Even if he's been missing?
I don't know Illinois state laws, but I do know that in this state, we would have to have a similar letter from him having us release the custody to you so that you could move her back home. Now, you could see a judge here in Arkham and open a legal case to get it overturned. I don't know how long that would take. I'm not a lawyer, but I want you to be happy with whatever choice you make for your mother. But you do need to know that at night she can become very difficult to deal with.
And that's what the people in Elgin were saying.
The reports from Elgin were pretty difficult to get a true grasp on until we actually saw it for ourselves. She might look like she's lost a little bit of weight, or maybe she doesn't have the strength she used to, but there are several orderlies here at Arkham that can attest that she has more than enough strength to do what she needs to do. And so I prescribe them laudanum when it's necessary.
She is not eating.
It could be an after effect of the medicine. But rest assured that whatever decision you come to, Arkham Asylum will be here to do what it can to be a benefactor for your mother.
Would I be able to have other food brought in for her?
Provided that the staff and the kitchens are made aware and they don't see that you're trying to sneak any alcohol or anything else like that in. Sure, it'd be fine.
Well, I have things to think over.
I understand. I know these cases can be difficult.
Well, considering nobody's heard from my father, that was the last paper that I expected to see.
Well, if I come upon any other information, I'll let you know.
Yeah, and as long as I'm happy with what's going on here, then I may just leave her here. A day's travel isn't too bad.
Trust me when I say this, Miss O'Shea, Arkham is the best place for her. If there's nothing else.
No.
It's been a long day. I'm sure you're ready to get some sleep.
Yes, I will see you tomorrow. Well,
Indeed you will.
Somebody, because I will be here to see my mother again.
Of course. He gets up and walks to the door and opens it up for you.
And I will go find Professor Cross.
You head out. You head back down to the centralized block, the main area. You don't see Professor Cross.
Is this car still out?
You head outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside you look around. You don't... It's not where it was. It's getting on to about evening hours here now. You were 5:30, so it's probably closer to 7 at this point.
I guess I'll go to the desk and ask if they've seen... Have you seen Professor Cross?
Oh, he was here a few minutes ago, but he stepped outside. This isn't his... he doesn't work here, but of course we know him.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, I haven't seen him.
Huh. Okay. Thank you. And I guess I'll go outside and look for his car, and if I don't see it...
You look for his car. Look around the front and maybe part of the sides. You don't see it on the side. You end up coming back to the side. And when you come back towards the front, you not bump into, but pretty close to bumping into a man in a gray fedora hat and a dark gray trench coat, a businessman's trench coat. He says, "Excuse me," in a kind of lower tone, and when he raises his fedora out of respect because he's a gentleman, you see a familiar face.
Pierce?
It's Dr. Pierce.
Doctor?
Yes, Miss O'Shea. I thought I might run into you here.
Were you looking for me?
I am. My apologies for missing you in Chicago. Hopefully the matter's resolved.
For now.
Good. I was doing some checking up on a few things. One of the things I was checking up on was, of course, members of the Order and their extended family, and I found out that your mother's inside.
Yeah, why were you looking into the Order?
I don't believe they're telling you the entire story here.
Oh, here? Yeah. You can't tell me my father waltzed into town and signed a paper.
No. In fact, he produces a letter. It's exactly the opposite.
Is this for my mother? From my father.
Considering the date, definitely before she was moved.
Yeah.
I thought it might give you some insight as to what might have happened to him. I acquired it here. It came in part of her effects. It was never opened.
How did you get her effects?
I'm a resourceful doctor. You must know that Neil and I, during the war, were good friends. I promised him that I would look after his family as best I could, especially when he made certain decisions about his life. It was the least I could do for him. And so when I found out that your mother had been transferred to Arkham, I figured since I was on my way to Providence, I could make a stop and inquire with a few folks here. Your mother has a rather interesting affliction. It causes her to
See things?
at certain periods of the night, yes. And I'm not so certain that the things that she sees are not altogether real.
So knowing what I just dealt with, you're gonna throw this at me?
I'm not throwing anything at you. You are more than welcome, Miss O'Shea, to gather your luggage and get back on a train and go home.
Yes, but these things have followed her from Elgin.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, you see, when you get into some of the things that your father got himself into, choices get made. Choices have repercussions. As I always taught my students, repercussions sometimes are the most difficult thing to deal with in life. I believe your father was looking for some type of spell work, some ritual, some incantation that he could use to undo whatever had been done to your mother. Her affliction was brought on by something. What? I have no idea just yet.
I was always under the impression it was because my father left. But from what I've read on the piece of paper that I have of records, it had been going on for longer than that.
It's funny what we perceive when we are young versus what we perceive when we are old. We see the world entirely differently. Now, I must move on to Providence. And then after that, who knows? But if you have need of me, he reaches into his pocket and gives you a business card. Call this number here. It looks like a strange number. When you look at the card, it has a number, and it looks like it's a number, or it's not so much a phone number as it is a address, and it's a London address.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. I have to find my ride.
Your ride?
Well, the man that I came here with is, looks to be no longer here.
It's a funny thing about Arkham. People come and go, and sometimes disappear into thin air. It's a rather strange place. Be mindful of that. He puts his fedora hat back on.
I will go back to the desk and ask if they can call me a taxi.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. We'd be more than happy to call you a taxi. And you get your taxi and head back to your room.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll call it there for the evening.
Okay.
Wonders abound in Arkham.